Welcome to the Dawson's Creek podcast. Not with our special guest, Pati Martin. Now, onto the show.
Hey, Ryan. There's nothing in it. I got you. Oh, boy. Whew.
Hey, Grady. There's nothing in it.
Hello and welcome to the Not Dawson's Creek podcast, a show where you interview your regular yet extraordinary Dawson Creek citizens. Today we have the extreme pleasure of interviewing one of Dawson's most beloved citizens and even more beloved business owners. Please welcome our guest. Hi, Pati. How are you?
Really good, thank you.
That's awesome. That's awesome. That water was freezing.
You seemed warm.
Oh, thank you. Oh. And so, Pati, first questions first. Is it Dawson Creek or Dawson's Creek?
Dawson Creek.
How many times did you get that running the pub from? I know you had a lot of different visitors from out of town. How many people said, is it actually Dawson's Creek or Dawson Creek?
I never really had that asked.
Really?
The thing in here was Rolla. Everyone said Rolla, and it's Rolla.
You got to let the people know, because a lot of people don't know that. And so, for anyone outside of our community, what is Rolla, BC? Obviously, it's a bit of a... Sorry, I have water in my eye. Sorry, it's a bit of a community in the Peace region, but what is Rolla? And for anyone outside of our community, what is it like?
Rolla is a tiny hamlet, and it's in the Peace Country. And it was actually... it was Pooskoopi and Rolla were the first towns.
Yeah.
And Rolla was actually supposed to have the railroad.
Yeah.
But then everything transferred, and it went from Pooskoopi to Dawson Creek.
Right.
And then actually a lot of the houses from Rolla were hauled into Dawson Creek.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. So it and Poos were the first communities here
Yeah.
before Dawson Creek.
Yeah.
Wow, that's awesome. That's awesome. And so we're here right now. We're here right now in the beautiful Rolla Pub. I'm sorry, Pati. We're here right now in the beautiful Rolla Pub, a place that you own for a number of years. So obviously it's basically a historical site for anyone outside of our community. You have so many pictures, not only from the area, but you have photos of people. You have different trinkets from the area, people from outside of our community that came here. So how long did you own and operate Rolla Pub for, Pati?
My family owned it since 1965.
Yeah.
And then, I got married when I was 19, and I lived in Vancouver for 8 years. But then when I lived there, here, families are very close and friends are really close. And when I lived in Vancouver, we had a lot of serious things happen, and then even if it's your relatives, they haven't got the same connection to you as people here.
Right.
So then I realized how lucky we are here, that so many people really care and they will help you, and and when you're raising a family, that's really important to have that.
Yeah, of course. Do you think that's one of the best parts of being in the Peace Country and being in the Peace region, how close everyone is?
Yes.
Yeah.
I think it's incredible.
Yeah.
Everyone's super busy, but if somebody's in trouble or needs help, they're immediately bang. Everyone's behind them and helps them.
Yeah, absolutely. And they pour water on them sometimes.
This is true. But actually, that's a great point. Even strangers will go out of their way to help people. I know of a few instances where I myself have hit the ditch in the middle of winter. My girlfriend's kid has hit the ditch in the middle of winter, and so many people driving by, stop and go, hey, do you need a hand? We can pull you out. I have a truck and a chain. Like, it's phenomenal. I think that kind of community support is wonderful here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, and the thing is, like, I like the fact that it does get cold, because anyone that's weak leaves fast, and that's not a bad thing.
So me, basically. And so going back to the Rolla Pub, you know, a big part of it was not only how comfortable it was here, how comfortable it was being here, but also people connecting, right? And so before we go into the history and talking about your family owning it, I understand that you had a number of musical guests here over the years. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, like at first when I moved back, like, my husband died really young. He was 32.
Mm-hmm.
And then I had 3 kids, and one was a diabetic. But then I really knew that I wanted to make a really comfortable place. So at that time, I'd use my tips, and then I'd go to antique stores and borrow people's photos and have to take them to Grand Prairie to make copies of them. And, like, I worked really hard, but it worked. Like, and it's interesting, like,
Yeah.
how people do connect. Like, there's, like, most people have a background somewhere of pioneer spirit, or, you know, through their grandparents or someone.
Yeah.
And, like, they just feel comfortable.
Yeah.
And that's what I wanted.
Yeah. Well, then they come here and they're coming for a drink and they're like, holy crap, that's my grandma.
Yeah.
Holy crap, that's my grandfather, right?
Yeah.
How did you feel providing that to people?
Well, and then I had a lot of the history books, and, like, a lot of people didn't know what happened.
Yeah.
Like, their family would come here, and then maybe they couldn't write because they were really young when they left,
Yeah.
and they didn't go to school. So a lot of times we'd find their family in my books, and then it just, like, you couldn't do anything more important than that.
No, absolutely. Especially in this area. Like, again, like you're saying, how close people are, right?
Yeah. And
Yeah.
a lot of people, a lot of people didn't have any money in those days, and so just to have a photo,
Yeah.
you know, like, here's the thing, if you're in this area and you took a photo, you'd have to send it to Toronto to get developed,
Mm-hmm.
but there was no guarantee that it actually got developed, right?
Yeah.
Maybe you've overexposed it or something happened on the way.
Yeah.
So, yeah, anyone that did have photos, like, they were a miracle.
Right. Yeah, of course. And so now, kind of jumping back in history to your family, you said, got this pub in 1965?
Yeah.
Yeah. And so were you helping out at the place then?
Just
with them?
cleaning floors and, like, doing dishes.
What was it like back then, and what did it look like?
It was pretty rough. Like,
Yeah?
that's the best way to put it. But, like, my family actually had a garage in Port Moody, and then they had 2 houses, and then they lost everything.
Oh, wow.
And then we rented for a while, and then my dad found this place, and so he came up and saw it. And then my
Mhm.
mom was always from Vancouver,
Yeah.
and so, and all her family were there, so
Mhm.
it was pretty overwhelming for her to move.
Yeah.
Like, 'cause now 800 miles or whatever isn't that far, but in those days it was.
Yeah, that's really far. And was your dad originally from the Peace Country, or was he also
No, he was
Vancouver?
from Saskatchewan.
Oh, really? So they both were unfamiliar with the area.
Yeah,
How did he come across Rolla Pub? Do you know?
I do. I call him the super salesman. A super salesman sold him the garage in Port Moody,
Yeah.
and then when he lost it, then the super salesman found my dad, and then he sold him this hotel.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow. Wow. And so then they obviously own and operate this for a number of years. And then I understand that you moved down to Vancouver. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. And
I really wanted culture
yeah.
and art galleries and just the concerts.
Yeah.
And then when I was there, like, it's really, really difficult to have, like, real friends, meet real people that connect to you.
Right.
And so then it's, I don't know, like, my husband and I were really close when we had the kids, and that was a unit.
Yeah.
But then when something happens and a unit's not good enough, you need more people.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And so your husband does pass away,
Yeah.
and then you and your family move back up to the Peace region.
Before, yeah.
Before?
Yeah,
Yeah.
he actually did a lot of good in here.
Oh, really?
He was a really good person.
Oh,
yeah.
really? Do you mind asking me what was his name?
Bob Martin.
Bob Martin?
Yeah.
Yeah? Yeah. And so he helped out in the pub and...
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah. I was taking care of the kids, and he was in the pub, and like he really was involved in sports and knew tons of facts about sports. And
Oh, really?
yeah, like if you were with him, you didn't have to know anything because he knew all the background of all the players, and like
Yeah.
he loved football, knew all about football, like.
That's a...
And he was just a really kind person,
Yeah.
and he really adopted people, like, so, yeah, like a lot of the younger guys really felt like he was their big brother.
Oh, that's wonderful. And I would imagine being a big sports guy, that really helps out in a pub, and especially being kind as well.
Yeah.
That really helps out in a pub atmosphere.
Well, and he was a big guy too, so.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So, best of all three, really.
Yeah.
And so, when did you guys come here and take control of the pub?
Well, we were partners with my mom,
Yeah.
and I believe it was 1985.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, he had a rare heart syndrome, and he had to go to Ontario and have 3 open heart surgeries. And then I actually had a car accident, and I was pregnant, so I was in the hospital in Vancouver, and he was in the hospital in Ontario.
Mm.
And then that was the moment. It was like, this isn't working. Like,
Yeah.
we don't have any backup here.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And so, with that, you own and operate, you're a co-partner with your mom, right?
Yeah.
And so, you own and operate that. How was it like working with your mom on
Really
developing the
good.
pub?
Like she was a really interesting and kind person.
Yeah.
And like a lot of people felt like she was their mom. And
Yeah.
then like she died, like I think it's 14 years ago.
Mhm.
But like I think I kind of took over for the mom thing, like,
Right.
which was good.
Yeah.
I
well,
did
like-
have my own kids, but like
Yeah.
I adopt people too. So.
Yeah, well, hearing people who have gone to the pub and are regulars of the pub, they definitely feel that way about you, that you're kind of a caretaker and you bring such a warm, inviting atmosphere. And is that a big part for you to create that warm, inviting
Yeah.
atmosphere? Yeah.
Well, just everyone needs to. It's like Cheers. Like everyone needs to know they count, right? Like,
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. And so when did you decide, you were talking about, going to vintage shops and grabbing pictures of the area. When did you decide to kind of do that and make the area feel comfortable and get these photo albums and make it about family in the Peace region?
I don't know. It was like after my husband died. Like I was not up on my sports. I did learn like gradually,
Yeah.
but like I don't know. We had I had a lot of connects, like big pictures and different things, but like I don't know. I totally started like leaving and seeing like down in the States. I visualized that
Mhm.
we don't have that,
Mhm.
and then I thought it was important.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like a lot of times the Pooskupi had the hospital, and then they bring the people out here.
Right.
And then I just got to know, like I knew a lot of the pioneers when I was young, but I was really, really shy.
Mm-hmm.
And then I don't think that's a bad thing because you're observant and
Mhm.
notice things and listen.
Yeah.
But then when I just thought we're not containing our history or making, like, that's the thing. You have to bring the history alive. Like, I knew everything in the room
Yeah.
and any information about it and all the pictures and the books. Like, I could dramatize the history to make it interesting
Yeah.
because we really make our history flat.
Mm-hmm.
And if you have a flat history, it's not intriguing or people aren't really interested because the world, everything's got to be big and
Right.
bigger than life. So if you have a flat history, nobody really cares, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
But I was really good at making history come alive.
Yeah. Yeah. Making it 3D, making it.
Yeah.
You can physicalize it. You can see it, right?
Yeah.
Especially in this space.
Well, and like so people understood what their family went through. and had more respect for that. Like, and we're proud of who they are because their genetics were part of that.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And so you, obviously we touched upon this a bit before, but you also have musicians here performing. And I understand that's a big part for you to showcase musicians. I almost said magicians. That would be cool too. But musicians in the area because...
Actually, the neat part was is there was some people from like the area that had gone, but then it got to the point where like some of my friends were in Europe, and then the Europeans would ask, okay, we're going to Canada, where do we go? And they'd automatically go, you got to go to the Rolla Pub. And they go, why? And they go, we can't really explain it to you, but you need to go there. And then, so I never asked anyone to come here.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they would ask me. And
Really?
that made it, like, I don't know how many people we've had here, but, like, there was only one person that was not the highest, like, vibration, I guess you'd call it. And he asked to come back, but I wouldn't let him.
Certain people have good vibes, certain people don't, right? Yeah, absolutely. So how did it grow to that reputation of like people want to come in?
I think as people, like musicians, a lot of businesses, it's like that's the business. But for me, like I felt like because our area wasn't always getting the independent musicians,
Yeah.
and like for me, it was like I was really involved. Like I used every tip I got to put in the fund for the musicians,
Mhm.
and they knew that. And I was generous, and I treated them like family.
Mhm.
They weren't just someone to make me money. It
Right.
was like they were a universal family that was landing here to get energy to go forward in what they had to do next, right?
Right, right.
It's like they had to be nurtured
Yeah.
because a lot of people don't understand that. Right?
No, no. And when you nurture talent, you don't know where it's going to go, right?
Exactly.
Or how far they're going to go.
Yeah.
Because there's so many people that are performed here that have performed in other larger venues and all that sort of fun stuff. And they always remember the Rolla Pub fondly because you took care of them, right?
Yeah.
And do you think that's a big thing is to support artists and to make them feel supported, especially in this area? Do you think that's a priority?
I think it's important. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like that thing is our area, because a lot of the like you have to think 100 years ago, there was so many small dances like we were talking about earlier,
Mhm.
and like so many people, but for a while nobody was really interested in like developing guitar and like all their talents. But like now we have so many talented people, and like they're all just, and like, I think we learned when COVID was on that we have to be independent and like do nurture our creative parts, because that will save you, right? Like
Yeah.
if you have that in you, like whether you're painting or playing guitar or whatever you want, dancing or whatever you want to do, it will be something that can maintain your sanity, right?
Yeah.
Like,
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Ryan, your family are magicians. Your family is what's grammatically correct?
You come from a family of magicians?
Yeah, you come from a family of magicians.
Yeah.
Did your dad or mom ever perform here?
I don't know. That's a great question.
Uh,
You were saying earlier that you're not familiar with the Rimrock Band, so that sort
No.
of inclines me to believe that they didn't.
That was their band,
Yeah.
Rimrocks. That's a good band name.
Yeah.
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 Hmm.
But I'll ask them. That's a great question because they may have.
Yeah, they probably have. Yeah.
well, they might have played in Rolla Hall.
Oh, maybe.
Oh,
Yeah.
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 Yeah. Right.
Yeah,
Right.
because there used to be down, like the hall originally was next door and
Yeah.
it burnt down.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, when we were little, we'd watch everyone outside. No one could drink in the hall, so they'd have to go outside and they'd have a bottle and then,
Oh, really?
monitor their behavior.
Gotcha.
sneak a bottle or so. Yeah, yeah. And so, what was the vibe like when it was a band was playing on a Friday or a Saturday and it was packed? What was the vibe like?
Oh, really, it's hard to explain. It was magical. Like, that's the only word to use. Like, yeah, because it just felt so good. And the sound was really good in here.
Oh, is
Like,
it?
yeah, just the wood and
Mhm.
like so many items like everywhere. So
Right. That's so cool.
yeah,
That's
it
so
was
cool.
kind of like a church,
Yeah.
like the feeling, like yeah, if you're in a church, that safe feeling, like yeah.
Oh wow, that's cool. That's cool. And you brought that vibe, like you facilitated that vibe. How did it feel to kind of like show that to the community?
Wonderful.
Yeah.
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 Yeah, well, because when you look around and everyone's just huge smiles on their face and just sort of shiny and glowing,
Yeah.
right? There's nothing better than that, right?
No, there isn't. There
And
isn't.
like everyone was different. It wasn't like, you know, like that's what I found in Vancouver. Like there would be a group of people, but they were very similar.
Mm-hmm.
And like I wasn't used to that.
Yeah.
You know, like if they were a group of people, they'd like the same books, they'd have the same politics, they'd sort of use the same kind of clothing, have the same vehicles, like, you know, and that was really odd to me.
Mm-hmm.
Because like here, people can be absolutely best friends, and like they're not anything similar really, but like they enhance each other because of the uniqueness of each person, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And so, what was your favorite part of operating this?
Just people,
Yeah.
like in general, like yeah. Well, and the thing is, like sometimes people would be rude, but like I didn't accept it. Like the thing is, I learned early that if I wasn't comfortable with someone, then
Mm.
everyone was, and like I'd
Mm.
rather have everyone than one person that made everyone uncomfortable.
Do you have a favorite musical act that performed here? Or one of the favorites?
I liked all of them, like, and they were all different. Like,
Yeah.
and they're all independent musicians, so
Right.
yeah.
Right. Could I play the harmonica here?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Can you play the harmonica
No,
anywhere?
I cannot. I am not musically inclined. So whenever I see a magician or musician, whichever, I'm always really blown away. I'm like, how do you do that? And they're just keeping in beat. I don't get it.
You know, if you had a deck of cards, I could show you the coolest card trick right now because it enthralls Grady each time.
I'm like a 5-year-old.
It is so fun.
We were at dinner one time, and we were at like Brown's or something like that. And Ryan said, I can do a magic trick. This is at 11 p.m. And what Ryan did was he asked the server, do you have a deck of cards? They're like, no, because we're a restaurant. He's like, okay. He asked the bartender, do you have a deck of cards? No, this is a restaurant. He's like, okay. So he left and came back with a deck of cards, and he started doing magic tricks.
See, I live like 5 minutes away from Brown's, and I said, I bet you I can go home, get my deck of cards, and come back before our food comes. And I was right.
Wow.
And then everybody loved the card trick, and
They were
the
really-
whole room clapped.
They were really good, actually.
Well, the thing is, I think I know where one is right now.
Oh my goodness.
Uh-oh.
Don't tempt him, please, Patty. So, when did your mom take a less active role in the operation of the pub?
When my husband died, she said that she would help, like during the day, and
Yeah.
then like I had to do basically most of the business.
Yeah.
And I had 3 kids, and I had to make a living, and it worked. You know, it was perfect.
Yeah. Was it a bit daunting for her to be like, kind of, like say, this is yours, go crazy?
I was scared because I was really shy. Like,
Yeah.
But yeah, like the thing is, if you have 3 kids and you're a widow, you better smarten up and do something, right? Like,
And you said you're shy, but then obviously you're talking to so many patrons, and you provided such a
oh
nice-
no, like I remember, like I was so shy that like I had a pipeline crew show up, and like I would be behind the bar, and then I'd look at everyone like with huge eyes and terrified, and like I'd barely even remember what they wanted, and then I'd take it to them and hide behind the bar and pray they didn't ask me anything, like, no questions. And then actually they came back a couple of years later, and then they were like, were you here a couple of years ago? And it was like, yeah. And they were like, really? That was you? Like, you're so different now.
How did you get over that, like, shyness?
I just think I had no choice because, like, you don't really super feel comfortable in a place where the person's like, please don't talk to me. Actually, I did. I went and took the bartending course too at the college.
Oh.
And then I love people. And then the lady that was teaching it said, because I was super nervous, there was all these people in the class, and I was the only one that owned a bar. And I did actually come up with the class drink because I am creative. And yeah, she said that I would do well because I actually really do actually love people, and that in the long run, I think that helped me for her to say that, because she was someone that actually worked on big ships as a bartender. She said that was the coolest job because they have all the extras, like for making really neat drinks and stuff.
Cool.
Yeah.
That's excellent. Oh, well.
But when I was making my drinks at the school, I was shaking. She goes, "Well, you're not the greatest at like mixing stuff till it's looking confident, but you really love people, so that's the main thing." Like,
You're like,
Good.
awesome. You have to have one or the other, right?
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. And we were talking a bit off camera about the need to show people the area and the need to kind of show our identity here as a community. And of course, you have so many people, I don't know if a lot of people know this, but so many people internationally that come to the Rolla Pub. And can you talk about that a little bit, how cool that was to have so many international people come here?
yeah. Well, the thing was that, like, that one of my favorite times is I had a girl from Japan, and like I don't know how she found it, but we talked for a couple of hours.
Wow.
And like I've read all the I know it's not. I don't just know the history here,
Yeah.
but I read all the time, and I know a lot of the history of the world. Like, as I'm intrigued by it.
Yeah.
And then we talked about lots of different things. And then a man I knew walked in, and then he started giving me heck and said I was wasting my time being here, and that I should be traveling and doing all these things. And like, she was tiny, and she just stood up and she started waving her finger at him, and she goes, "You might travel the world, but Patty knows more about the history of where you travel than you do." I was like, yes.
You had a little protector.
Yeah. She was angry at that guy.
And you also said you had people from like from Europe and the UK, and they would come here and they'd be like, "This is so similar to our place in Europe."
But the thing was, it was different because it was our history.
Right.
But just the feeling of having the safety of history here.
Yeah. Right.
And people feel better around history.
And do you think that people being more comfortable and feeling more at home with history, that was one of the reasons why people felt so comfortable here?
I think so.
Yeah. Yeah. And were you aware of that when you're going to vintage shops and
Yeah.
grabbing that stuff? That's
Yeah, well, like I was on a budget because every week I'd save my tips from that week.
Yeah.
And then I'd have no time, barely. Yeah, like one of the ladies that owned a store in Dawson Creek, she told her daughter to watch me. And then like I probably had like 10 minutes, and like I'd do a circle around it, and twice maybe.
Mhm.
And then I had a budget, but then I'd be like, that comes and grab it and take it up. And like she knew that would happen, and so her daughter's like, whoa, like that's literally amazing. And it was always within my budget, right? Like,
Right.
Fantastic.
but and within a week, always somebody would walk in that was the thing that impacted them the most, right?
Right. And that's amazing to me that you would use your tips in that way, because it wasn't like you're like, I just need more money. It was like, I want to put money back into this place.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's
Well, I think that you feel that the difference, like when you're in a place that the owner like really cares, and you feel a
Yeah.
difference, right? Like,
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And you certainly feel it here. Yeah. And so you are a staple in the community. You're in Rolla, and you're having musical performances, and people are loving it. And then we get to the COVID pandemic, and that sort of stuff. And so
Well, the worst part was is it was 2020, and that was 100 years
Yeah.
of the building and the business,
Right.
and it had never been shut down.
Right.
Yeah, and yeah, like we had like all the like a lot of the musicians that were from everywhere wanted to come and have a big festival
Right.
to celebrate it. Like
Mm-hmm.
just like bang, like everything stopped.
Were you in the planning stages of that when the pandemic
Yeah.
happened?
Yeah.
Jeez. What month was the 100th anniversary?
Well, August 4th.
August.
August 4th is when my family came in August 4th. Nobody actually knows when the exact time it was built. It was in
Right.
1920, but like there's never been a time frame that said when.
Oh, really?
Mm.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Wow. And so that happens. You have this 100th anniversary planned, and things are shut down. And were you like, okay, so this is just a temporary lull, and then it'll get back to normal soon? Is that kind of the expectation that you had, or?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, like they shut me down because I had no food, but like there is a restaurant next door, right? And,
Yeah.
But then because I didn't have food in the building, then they said I had to shut down. And then we were trying to get food here, and then we took the off the wall. We took the siding off the wall, and then the building had been hit by a 5-ton truck at 7 in the morning previous, about probably 6 years before, but like
Mm.
I didn't realize all the damage it had done. So
Yeah.
when like it was devastating.
Oh, really?
I felt like my heart was broken, yeah.
Right.
Like,
Right.
and then I was really confused. What am I going to do?
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So then you found there were like structural issues with the building from that accident?
Yeah.
Yeah. And then were they like, this isn't structurally sound to hold people?
No,
in?
they didn't say that, but like I just knew.
You just
like,
knew that it wasn't from you,
Yeah.
nobody else. Right.
Because I actually still live in here, but like
Right.
it's not the greatest place to be right now.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. And so you had to close down the pub. And that no.
Well, I don't like the way costs are right now. Like I can't even imagine how much it would cost to fix it. Like,
Right. Right.
yeah, it's way out of my budget. It's like big
No.
time.
No, exactly. And obviously that not only devastated you, but it devastated the community, right? Because this is such a cornerstone of people's Saturday nights and Friday nights and that lovely atmosphere, right? And that really, that sucked for a lot of people. And of course, I imagine it devastated you as well, hey?
It was like I died, like personally died. Like it's like just having put so much in, and then like, yeah, I was frozen, like really frozen for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but like we talked about, I feel like the chrysalis, like you become who you're gonna be the next stage, right? Like.
Mm-hmm. You have all these antique items, and to raise money, I believe, for a tiny home for you.
Yeah.
You auction off the items, and the community kind of came together and tried to help you out. How did that feel to kind of have you given so much to the community over the years, and the community kind of gives back for their love for you? How did that feel amidst of all this heartbreak and
Yeah,
everything
no,
with the
well,
pub?
I'm really, really thankful.
Yeah.
Yeah, like it's a miracle. Like,
Yeah.
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 And like I just wanted everything to be in our area. Like,
Yeah.
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 I just think it's important that things remain in our area and be loved by whoever loves them.
Yeah. And, we were talking about that also off camera, about making sure that when you give things to people, especially from this, that it stays in our area and that it remains here. Why is that important to have it stay in the area?
I just feel like our area is a pretty special area in the world, and that it's important that we maintain our history and like
Mhm.
and make sure our hearts are open and have that sense of history and destiny for whoever we are. My creation was the pub. It was yeah, like I had people from other areas, and they said this was an art piece. The whole room was an art piece.
Mhm.
And it was my bequest in honor of the peace country.
Yeah.
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 And I thought that was pretty nice
Yeah.
of them to say it, but it was like,
Yeah. It was your way of expressing yourself as an artist.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And there was people that didn't like it, but then they wouldn't have fit in. Like, I mean, it didn't matter what anyone was like. If they had a heart open, they fit in automatically.
Mm.
And anyone that didn't, like if it was about ego or you know, about them, like it was about everyone together
Yeah.
creating something.
And when those people came in, could you tell right away if
Yeah.
their heart was open or closed?
Yeah.
How could you tell? Is it just like
The whole room, it created that, like, people that were arrogant would leave immediately. They didn't like it. They felt uncomfortable.
Right.
And like people that were open-hearted, they felt comfortable immediately and would stay in and have a conversation. And
Yeah.
yeah, it was interesting.
Yeah. It's amazing that Ryan and I have stayed because we're both two arrogant SOBs.
Got that right.
Do you see what he did to me at the beginning? He dumped water on me.
You threw beer at my face.
We're so sorry again for being so silly, but just the vibe we like to bring. Just like the vibe you like to bring as well. We like to bring an air of silliness, ridiculousness, and that's it.
And arrogance.
And arrogance. That is also true. That is also true. And so you were talking, you met so many different generations of families here and people that came in. What was it like seeing, like, you know, one person come in and they're like a regular to the bar or whatever, regular to the pub, and then you see their children come in, and then you see their children come in maybe. How did that feel to see so many different generations come into this pub? It was like a generational sort of cycle that you saw.
Yeah, no, it was wonderful. I thought it was really interesting.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, well, and I actually sometimes, because I always focus on people's eyes.
Yeah.
I didn't realize that, but one time a guy came in and said, don't you notice anything? And then I didn't, and he'd grown a beard, and then like my other friend goes, don't even think about her seeing like that, because she always searches in your eyes to see if you're all right.
Mm-hmm.
And I do, which I know that now, but I didn't even realize it.
Right.
And yeah, like one person said, I love the way you are, because like if you think someone's not a nice person, you just sort of go, oh, thank you for coming. Have a wonderful life somewhere else. And don't come back.
Don't let the door hit you on the way out. And so when you're looking in people's eyes, not only are you seeing who they are as a person, but can you also recognize, like, oh, I can tell you're this relative.
I've actually I was scared a girl one time because I could tell her eyes, like I could see in her eyes her family. And I looked at her and I said her family name, and she just was terrified of me. And I go, oh, I better not do that again. Like,
so you stopped doing that?
I did.
So sometimes you can tell, but you're like, oh, I'll just hold this information a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. Yeah. Yeah. Look in your eyes, Ryan, and I see nothing. What do you see in my eyes?
My reflection.
You arrogant narcissist.
And I love it.
And so we'll be finishing up here, but I just want to ask you something that we've asked all of our guests is, if you were to describe, let's not just say Dawson Creek, but the Peace region, what would you describe it as? One word.
Unique. Because we have like every type, like between Tumbler and Hudson Hope, and, like Fort St. John and, you know, Dawson Creek. Like there's so much beauty here, and it's not always on the highways, and a lot of times there's secret places, right? Like, but it's beautiful.
Mm. Secret paradise.
Yeah.
Certain places, like Rolla Pub. Yeah. Right. Right. And so I just want to say, from, I think, everyone in the community in the Peace, thank you for providing such a beautiful space, providing such beautiful light, vibe, energy. I think everyone appreciates that when they come in, as long as they have an open heart, of course. And I just want to say thank you, Patti, for everything you've done for our community. It means the world to us.
Thank you.
Of course. And thank you for coming on the show, and I really appreciate your time.
Thank you. It was good for me.
So Ryan, what's that one card trick as we head out? What was that one card trick that you did?
I believe it's called the 2-card Monty, and you have to see it. It's not something I can describe.
Do you have a deck of cards?
There should be a Santa Claus on the counter over there.
If we can do that and have Ryan show you, because his magician skills are actually pretty incredible.
Over, it's a tin Santa.
This is so cool. Are they vintage?
Yeah.
You're vintage. This is.
Well, pretty vintage.
Yeah.
Oh, you can't show that.
Oh, I'm sorry. Well, I already did.
Oh, I'll blur it out.
1980.
Okay, we're gonna have to get a little bit closer together. I'm gonna ruin our framing. Oh, can I open these?
Yeah.
I'll be very careful with them. It requires a little bit of setup, so I will stall whilst I do that. Oh, and they're in new deck order. Have these ever been used before?
Don't look at me like that.
That is super exciting.
See, that's exactly what I was talking about.
Yeah?
That's what I liked about people. They'd find the right thing,
Yeah.
and they'd be excited.
Yeah. Yeah. I wish Ryan wasn't so intense about.
Look, I get nervous when I do card tricks.
And now he has to. Yeah, it's magic. Has anyone ever done magic in here?
I think so, a long time ago.
Oh, really? So
Yeah.
Ryan's probably the first one in like a decade, 15 years.
Yeah.
Well, I hope I don't mess it up.
It'd be so funny if you did on camera.
Oh, that would be hilarious. Can you cut it from the episode if I mess it up?
Yeah, sure.
Can you keep it in if I mess it up?
I will absolutely keep it into the episode if we mess it
Okay.
up.
So I'm gonna give
Yeah.
you this
You want
card. It is the King of Spades.
Okay.
I'm gonna get you to hold on to it like this.
Like this?
Like this. Just hold it out like this.
Oh, like that.
Yeah. But with your thumb on top,
Okay.
and then, yeah, pinching it like that.
Okay.
And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to swap it out with the Ace of Spades,
Okay.
right? Just like that.
Okay.
Okay?
Yeah.
This is where the fun part comes in.
Okay.
We're going to start placing bets. Okay? So you're holding the Ace of Spades, and I'm holding the Jack of Spades.
No,
Or the King
king.
of Spades. Sorry,
Yeah.
King of Spades. Okay? Just hold it really tight so I can't take it.
Okay.
Okay?
Yeah.
Did I take it?
No.
Did I take it?
No.
Okay. So you're holding
The ace.
the ace, and
Yeah.
I'm holding the king.
Okay.
So the king is on top.
Yeah.
I'm going to slide this under your thumb. Okay? Is the king on top?
I can't remember.
Okay. So the king should be on top. You can go ahead and look now.
Oh, wow. 2 jokers.
What? He did it!
Not bad.
Wow!
Thank you so much for
Yay.
indulging me.
This is our producer. So, if you had to rate it out of 10, what would it be? And please give him a low rating. He does not need any compliments. What would you rate him out of 10, Patti?
I think by 10 I would.
Wow.
Oh, that's fantastic. Let me return this to new deck order, and I will put this piece of history back where it belongs. Out of my grubby little hands.
Emphasis on grubby. Patti, I just want to say again, thank you so much for indulging us, and hearing your story is just fantastic. You're such an important part of this region and this area, and I want to thank you for that. And mainly, also want to thank you for dealing with us. Thanks again, Patti.
Thank you so much, Patti.
Thank you.
Thanks for watching the Not Dawson's Creek podcast. Directed by Grady McTavish. Produced by Quentin Tootin and Grady McTavish. Directors of photography, Quentin Tootin and Ryan Leewood. That's me. Art director, Charlie McLean. Sound, Taylor Leewood. Camera operators, Charlie McLean and Quentin Tootin. Bye-bye.